This is my daughter Ayla.
Yeah.
She's my support for today. So I deal with a lot of sensory stuff and things, and it's a great crowd, and you guys are getting great perception. But it's put me a little on overload. It's always intimidating, but I've felt like I'm a story from previous, and the fact that you guys are out here doing this for, you know, for today's kids. It's happening every single day. MMR injuries, lots of other shots injuries. My story started when I was 15 months old. I have documentation here from my doctors. I received the MMR on December 4th, 1979, right here at the bottom.
Did you just have the MMR?
At that visit, I did.
Wow, okay.
Yes, exactly. I was allowed 2 other vaccinations since then, but otherwise I have been unvaccinated because on the next page, a few days later on December 7th, my mom found me with a 105 fever, and it was rising. I pretty much, if she wouldn't have found me, I don't know if I'd be here to tell this story today. But she called the doctor's office, and they said to get me to the emergency room. So she brought me there. I was lethargic. I would love the emergency room notes because my mom's story is just horrific. So I apparently was lethargic, vomiting, diarrhea. The fever was going up, and they placed me in a bucket of ice. The priest actually came and gave me my last rites and told my mom to prepare for the worst. I was given, by these notes, the kaolin pectin mixture, which I've found out is discontinued, but back then they were trying to control my diarrhea because it was just coming out of me at the time. Fortunately, they got my fever down, and I wasn't, as far as, everything else looked fine. I came out of it. I was told that, or my mother was told that this was from the MMR. I was advised never to have one again. I do have some other of my medical history. It shows that I was given another set of, I got the DTP and the OPV a month later, right after this. Nothing noticeable except for the fact that I had chronic ear infections, I had chronic colds, more on the autoimmune side of things. So I have like a Bible of childhood ailments for myself. My mom's still vaccinated, my brother and my sister. It wasn't something that we were advised to go further into my family. It was just my own personal warning not to do it. So I didn't receive it in the 7th grade. I remember it being a big deal, I was told, I vaccinated my own children. I had my son really young at 16. It wasn't until I started working for a chiropractor and getting into skincare that he associated my sensory issues and things that I live with as far as currently emotions, sounds, textures, smells. I'm really reactive to a lot of stuff. So the chiropractor that I was working for definitely told me that, it's probably from your vaccine reaction. It wasn't until a few years later, 10 years later, I was still vaccinating at that point, vaccinated my own daughter, who has a different schedule than each of my kids are 10 years apart, and they have different schedules at this point. He was the last of the DTP. She is the new Hep B that was out. I started noticing issues with just sensory things with her also. She is diagnosed at school. Nothing major, no life-threatening reactions, so except that my son, when he went to college, got the MMR booster. By his middle school year, 7th grade, I denied him getting the boosters. I was already reading vaccine ingredients, so I chose to stop vaccinating at that point. And so as an adult, he's 21 now, he chose at the time to get his college booster, and within a year of that, his eye stopped moving. For about 2 months, it stopped moving. He was diagnosed with MS. I don't know what came first. I just know that my family's obviously had some reactions to things. Mine was the worst of them. And since then, I have a little girl who's 3, who's 100% unvaccinated. I do see the history between my 3 children. They're 10 years apart. I have 3 different vaccine schedules and one not at all. She is by far the healthiest child that I have. My son had chronic, just like I was, chronic earaches. He had pneumonia. He was actually hospitalized for pneumonia by the time he was 6 months old. Same with her. They both were living off of nebulizers for the first 5 years. I guess at this point I'm really happy and fortunate that they didn't have worse reactions, because there's something in my family, there's something in our genes. I do have cousins that have some children on the autistic spectrum also. I feel as an adult right now, I live with a lot of sensory issues. In a crowd, I hear a lot of conversations. It's really hard to tune in and to tune out of people. I have definitely touch issues, which revolves into my relationships with people. I love people. I'm very comforting. I like babies. I love my babies. I can't have someone give me a hug whenever they want to, though. It's just too much for me. Smells and taste, certain things actually can bring on anger. I have I have something crossing with my senses, so I feel like to some degree you could say that I'm on a spectrum, because if an Axe body spray or perfume makes me want to punch something, you have to ask your kids not to put on certain perfumes. You have to, just kind of living on a day-to-day basis with not being on a sensory overload as an adult is pretty different, I guess. It's more hard because I know it's not normal. And just trying to, still be a good mom, still be a good person, I guess. But I know that, I guess on the end of things, I'm happy that I survived my reaction when I was younger. The fact that it does happen, and the fact that I can talk about it. I think I'm supposed to be here to tell other people.
Yeah, thank you, and you've told it so well.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about that fly.
It's okay.
And it's really interesting talking about the sensory overload. It's just one thing that we as parents always need more information on why is that happening, and I certainly see it in my son, so that was extremely helpful to me, the way you were describing it. The smell on this bus must be horrific for you.
They're good. It's usually synthetics. I can't do artificial chemicals. I clean with vinegar and lemon and I can't
That's
do
the best thing
chemicals
to
at
do.
all.
Because this is natural.
This
stink.
bus is natural
stink.
stinky stuff. There's no
I can
chemicals.
handle
It's
that.
just
No, usually it's a burning. I can't walk down laundry. I can't walk down aisles that have chemicals or fragrances. My mom will use a plug-in car freshener, and I'm totally overloaded. And it's really weird. There's an anger. There's your nose burning. There's something that's happening that just doesn't seem right.
we so appreciate you telling your story, and it's lovely to meet you too. How old are you?
12.
You're 12. Yeah, you're amazing. Grown up girl. Thank you. So you are a good mum. 'Cause look, there's your proof.
Exactly. Exactly. And we're just trying to keep them safe. Because I know in Minnesota I've got personal choice, but it is trying to protect from other, I guess, on X spectrum. Anybody can change their mind, and if you don't have the same views as your other half, you kind of have that personal dilemma of if you want to vaccinate or not vaccinate. And I'm always looking at things on a genetic level at this point, because we are all individuals. We all, one shot does not fit all, and even though it was safe for another, doesn't mean that it's safe for everybody.
All right. Now, have you signed the bus?
I did. I did. No, thank you for doing all of this.
Thanks for coming to this town.